All right, all right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is Friday, uh, February 5th, 2021, and we're live here in the Project Green Studios. I just officially coined it that. And so hopefully some people will be jumping in here and joining us during this conversation. We want to talk today about things that people are already talking about as it relates to money. And so in a few minutes, I'm going to bring special guest on screen, and we're going to be talking about Gamestop. We're going to be talking about stocks, RobinHood, and as I call this, what's up and down with the stock market. And so jump on in here, share this post, like our Project Green page, and invite some friends to jump in here as well. So also when we're talking today, I want to hear what else you all are thinking about, what you're talking about as it relates to money. Here at Project Green, we're a grassroots organization. And so we want to hear what the community is thinking about and talking about as it relates to money. So please, even if we don't get to cover the topic today, make sure that you share some comments and questions. And perhaps if we may be able to get to those today. Otherwise, we may be able to address those in some other Friday live broadcasts, or maybe even as a part of our programming. And so we're going to talk about that as well. So, all right, share this post and bring some other people into this conversation with us here at Project Green. Some of you know Project Green. We are the Grassroots Economic Empowerment Network. Our mission is turning everyday people into money heroes. I define a money hero as somebody who is pursuing their own financial goals and helping someone else to do the same. So you can do that a number of different ways, right? You can go to a money workshop and you can learn some budgeting tips, and then you might share those tips with a family member, with a coworker. You might figure out some things you want to do better with your spouse. Well, that's all being a money hero. Or you might decide you want to take up an advocacy project and change some things policy-wise right here in Kent County or wherever you might reside. And so that's being a money hero as well. So we'd love to talk to you more about those things with Project Green as well. So let me bring my special guest in here today. He's my brother. He's my friend. And I'm just glad that he is joining us today. His name is Lorin Tate. Lorin, good afternoon, sir.
Hello, brother Dallas. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for joining. And I was just about to ask you to introduce yourself. I forgot to say who I was. I'm Dallas Lenear. I'm the executive director of Project Green, and just so glad to have you here, Lorin. So Lorin, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background as it relates to finances?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Lorin Tate. I'm the current owner and operator of a operation called River City Cup and Cake. It's a mobile cafe serving Kent County, Michigan, as well as disaster areas across the country. I'm a operation that serves coffee, tea, and pastries. Selling them locally, but I'm also following disasters across the country and serving first responders, people who are doing the real work. So while I'm supporting them, they're doing the good work. But I'm sure Dallas had me on here because of my previous career. I was a financial planner for 24 years. Fresh out of college at Florida State University, I took my bachelor's in finance and economics to Wall Street, where I was hired by Dean Witter, and started my career in June of 1986, serving 24 years as a financial planner. By the time I left the industry, I had just over $111 million under management, which at that time put me in the upper 1% of all money managers. But I focused on things like all of the financial planning tools that you would be talking about here today: stocks, bonds, options, life insurance, things of that nature.
Man, that's fantastic, Lorin. I'm so grateful that God has connected us in so many different ways. Um, one of the things I'm most grateful for is the first thing that you talked about, and that is River City Cup and Cake. We could spend the whole time talking about that from your cinnamon rolls to muffins to chocolate chip cookies, and the list goes on and on. He makes some great cupcakes. My family indulges in those around our birthdays. So I kind of hate that you brought it up because now that's all my mind is thinking about.
The reality is I'm a people pleaser. So making people happy or smile with a cup in one hand and a pastry in the other, that's my mission in life today.
Man, I love it. I love it. Well, and you also talked about how you serve people through River City Cup and Cake, and I know that to be a very real part of your life and mission. And you've been to so many disaster areas, and again, I'm so grateful to know you. You're an inspiration, and you are in fact a hero in that regard as well. We talked about money heroes, but you invest your own time and energy and talents and equipment and whatnot into serving others. And so, again, I'm grateful for you for that reason as well.
Well, let me put this out here. The cost to me of being kind with a cup of coffee or a pastry is negligible. It's the fact that somebody's there to do that. So there are people doing real work, heavy lifting after a disaster like a hurricane or a tornado. I'm not doing that work. All I'm doing is saying thank you for the work that you're doing, and I'm just rewarding them with a cup of coffee or a pastry.
That's awesome, man. That's incredible. Appreciate that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's been going on with the stock market. I've been hearing GameStop. I've been hearing AMC. I've been hearing BlackBerry. Right? I used to love my BlackBerry smartphone. I think I was one of the last hangers on of the BlackBerry phone. But they've been, these stocks have all been in the news, and I think it's gotten the attention of people who have never invested, but they've had some interest in investing, and so Lorin, I'd love for you to just kind of explain what's been going on in the stock market with all of these stocks.
Okay. Let me start with the premise that if anything, I'm going to convey this is much more confusing than what meets the eye. All we hear is that people are making money hand over fist by buying these stocks. First of all, it's in your best interest to know the background of why these things are happening. Let's assume, Dallas, that you're in the market to buy a brand new house, and you come across the most beautiful house in your neighborhood, and you purchase that house. But when you purchase the house, the seller told you that the furnaces in our house are coal fired, which means that every 4 hours during the winter, you need to add more coal to the furnace in every room that you want to keep warm. After a while, you may realize that you might have some other options, such as electric or natural gas, which may also be more convenient. So if you then decide to switch from coal to another heating source, the value of coal, which your house relied on to stay warm, would likely go down because other home purchasers would probably have the same idea that putting coal in my furnace is not all that convenient, or there's something better or less time consuming for me. Well, that's the reason why the value experts expect the value of, I use the example of coal, but let's say GameStop or AMC to go down. There's a sense of obsolescence happening with these companies. Instead of going to a movie house, you have the ability to sit on your own couch in your own home, comfortable or with friends, and stream a movie, as opposed to going to an AMC and sitting in the theater. You can pop your own popcorn in a microwave and instead of spending what you would spend at an AMC. That's how AMC really makes their money, not on the movies, but on all the conveniences that they provide to make you feel at home to come back next time.
That's why I can't bring my own popcorn in to the theater, because that's where they're making their money.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Well, the same is true with GameStop. It may have been a fine company in the past, but for the same reasons that you can look at a bigger, older company such as Blockbuster. Same phenomenon is happening. People do not have to go to the store in order to purchase their games. Gamers are typically downloading their games onto their computer or their phone. It's just much more convenient. And they have the world of options at their fingertips instead of the inventory that GameStop has. So 2 weeks ago, you had really a perfect storm happening. You have a bunch of investors, typically small investors, who are reading an information site called Reddit. Reddit's putting out information that spurs people to stick it to the big guys. They hear that financial people are selling short a stock in order to not really try to put them out of business, but to capitalize on the woes of the GameStop business. Same with AMC. So this is where it really gets complicated. There's something that they were doing called selling short. Mm-hmm. Selling short is your ability to sell a stock that you don't own. Very, very risky. So let's say the stock was at $17. I could go to the marketplace, a broker dealer, and make a request to sell the stock at $17 a share. My hope is that the value of the stock price goes down and I can actually purchase the stock at a much lower value in order to accommodate the fact that I borrowed the stock from someone else. The difference between the two is my profit. So if the stock price is at $17 and the stock price goes down to $2.85, which is essentially what happened with GameStop, mm-hmm. I would be making all of this money in between.
That $14.15, that's my profit.
That's my profit. So I then buy the stock back at $2.85 and settle the fact that I give it to the person that I borrowed it from. I am the winner of $14 there. So very highly risky move, because unless there is market manipulation, theoretically, we have no control over what happens with a stock price. We might have a hint. We might read an analyst report that gives us an idea that companies are buying or are selling. But the world of investment ranges from the absolute to speculation.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
The safest investment in the world is a U.S. Treasury bond, bill, or note. The U.S. government has never faulted, never not paid the interest on that investment. Right now, the return on that is, let's say, 2.5%. That's very low. Mm-hmm. In today's world, people may be looking for a much greater rate of return. In order to get a higher return, you, the investor, are accepting more risk. If a government treasury bill, bond, or note is considered the absolute safe, anything above that includes risk. So if absolute is paying 2.5% and you're able to get a 15, 16, 17, 18, 20% return, you are participating in an element of risk. You need to both know that, understand that, and be willing to participate in that. My very first rule as a financial planner, not by me myself, but by the industry, was to know my client and to only place the appropriate risk-tolerant investments with my investor as opposed to whatever else may be out there. So back to GameStop. I mentioned that we had a perfect storm going on. Well, there's also something called options. You don't have to actually buy a stock in order to own stock. You can also participate in something called options. Options are a contract representing stock. So options contracts expire the third week of every month. So because these contracts end at a certain period of time, the financial investors that were trying to take advantage of GameStop's price going down were trying to use leverage based on the fact that options contracts ended at a certain period of time. So when the readers of GameStop started reading about GameStop, they were already behind the ball because financial transactions had already been taking place. So in order to stick it to the big money financial people on Wall Street, there was a consortium of people that decided to buy the stock to help all these financial people lose money on the transactions that they had. So if you were to counter what the big money people on Wall Street were doing, you had to buy stock. So enough of the Reddit readers were fueling fire to get more people to buy GameStop. So instead of the price of GameStop going down, they were driving the price up. In my opinion, what they were actually doing was adding more fuel to the fire for the big money managers, because the original money managers were making money based on their purchase. They're selling the stock at $17.50, and then with the hope of buying it back. Well, all these people buying stock forced the money managers to buy at extremely high levels in order to cover where they borrowed the money from. So they drove the price up over $300 a share. Now I guarantee you that the money managers are going to make significantly more money, because the real value of the stock is probably around $2.85 a share. From 300 to 200 or to $2.85 is a much bigger drop, which means they're going to make significantly more. Yes, it may have been a one-time opportunity to stick it to somebody and make a little money yourself, but the amount of risk that you're participating in right now is drastically, significantly more than it was 2 weeks ago.
Got it. That's a great explanation. So for the the small investor who everything is relative, but this certainly is smaller than these hedge fund investors. If they had $10,000 in their life savings and they put that $10,000 up, if they invested all of that into GameStop or AMC, then it's possible that they could actually make some money in the short term, but in the long term, if you said the stock price drops back down, they could lose all of that 10,000. It may not hurt that hedge fund investor to lose. It may hurt them less to lose $1 billion than for everyday Joe and Jane to lose $10,000, because that 10,000 may represent all that they have. So that's just my take on it. I don't know if you agree with that statement or not.
So when I first started with Dean Witter in 1986, I don't believe daily trading was over 1 million shares a day. Now you're talking about hundreds of millions of shares. So the reality of Wall Street or investing is that it's probably not the ideal place for individuals with only a couple of $1,000s. Hedge funds are buying based on computer modules, algorithms that are dictating the movement on pennies on the dollar. You and I really only make money based on our ability to buy volumes of shares. If I buy 100 shares of XYZ stock today and it goes up $1, I've made $100. Hedge funds are utilizing leverage. They're buying millions of shares and they're trading those millions of shares sometimes on pennies. They have the ability to benefit where you and I really don't have the ability to benefit. So while we hear fantastical stories about the stock market, there has to be an understanding from the investor, me, the investor, that what I'm really entering into and what my expectations are at the end of the day. So buying a mutual fund, spread your risk over multiple shares of or multiple companies,
Yeah.
and its value may go up and down on a daily basis for a long term. You have to have an expectation of time along with your investment as well, and that's got to be realistic for the amount of risk that you're willing to assume.
Yeah. So great points. So the Reddit sort of introduced this idea to its Redditors, as they're called, the people that found out, or they were exchanging this suggestion of buying up all of these stocks. That was where the conversation was happening, where the actual trades were happening were on I think Robinhood was the number one platform where this was happening. There may have been others as well. But in these, last few minutes, this time goes by so quickly. Let's just talk about a little bit about the platform, because, there were some people who made some money. I saw a video on CNN of a guy who, I believe he invested about $30,000, and he held up his phone, he turned it around, and he showed that his current portfolio was worth 1.1 million. And he was waiting. He was expecting the stocks to still go up. So whether or not that's a good idea, still, what's interesting to me is that you have everyday people who are now participating in investing in stocks and EFTs and other trade other commodities using these platforms like Robinhood. So tell us a little bit about Robinhood and how that works, and what are the pros and cons, maybe the quick 3-minute version of that.
Well, back in 1986, when I started, you really only had a handful of platforms that you and I as individual investors could participate in. There is the stock market. That stock market is accessed by brokerage firms. Back in the day, Merrill Lynch, Shearson Lehman, Dean Witter, American Express were all the platforms that you would go to in order to execute a financial transaction. Well, over the last 5 or 6 years, that became prohibitive, because as an advisor, the bigger I got, the bigger accounts I would handle. I think probably back around 2000, 2001, 2, and 3, there was a phenomena of people wanting to trade themselves. So the marketplace had to become accessible for individuals who didn't want to talk to someone like me as a financial advisor, but they wanted to go to the market directly themselves. So companies like Fidelity and Charles Schwab opened up opportunities for people to trade in their own account, bypassing professionals like me altogether. That was okay with people willing to assume that risk. No problem whatsoever. But even those accounts required a minimum of maybe $5,000. They've since been lowering their entry fees and obligations to me, the investor, over the last couple of years. But in the last couple of years, companies like RobinHood and Acorn, a couple of others, and even some big ones like Charles Schwab, have been making accessibility more available to the common guy. And with your ability to download an app, you can just execute a transaction or put money into a savings account right over your phone, making it significantly easier. So accessibility is the platform that they're bringing to the marketplace.
Excellent. And I use Robinhood and Acorns. Are you using either of those yourself?
I'm using Acorn currently. I have used Robinhood in the past. These are low-cost, self-directed accounts. Robinhood, I believe, Robinhood does not charge a fee. I think Acorn does charge $1
Right.
a month.
Yep.
You could essentially utilize both of those, or Charles Schwab has something called stock shares, which is your ability to buy a sliver of a stock. If you wanted to buy Tesla and you don't have $412 in your pocket, you can buy $5 worth of one share, giving you the ability to have access to a portion of the company while they're doing whatever they're doing return wise on the market.
Yeah. Actually, you can do the same on RobinHood as well.
Okay.
And then Acorns, you can't purchase individual stocks on Acorns.
They have fixed portfolios. I believe there are 4 portfolios that you can participate in. I had a savings goal in May of accumulating enough money to make a purchase. Ironically, I also have an eBay account that I'm selling stuff on. So my eBay account is constantly selling stuff, and I decided that I would use the proceeds from those sales to fuel my Acorn account. So as of last month, since May, my account had a balance of $2,000 in it, and an annualized return of over 18% over that period of time, which I thought was fantastic. Not only did I have the ease of saving or moving money into a savings account, it was money that was coming in through eBay, so I really had nothing to do with that. And to get I think it was an 18.34% return on top of that, even better.
Absolutely. Yeah. So good. I was hoping that we might get some questions or comments from those who are watching live to see maybe what their experience has been with these platforms, or if they may have some questions about what's going on in the stock market, or questions about how to use these platforms. One of the great things about Acorns is that it allows you to round up. So you can actually connect your investment account to your debit card. And so if you're making a purchase at the grocery store and your purchase is $173.50, you could round up to that next $5 mark. So round up $1.50, and then that $1.50 will be invested into your portfolio as you've set it up. So it happens automatically for you, but you can watch it happening and watching your money grow. So that's, I think, a great way for investment to happen for the everyday person. The other thing I want to share just in these last couple of minutes, Lorin, thank you for also participating in our Money Talk workshops. And I want to invite people to get registered for our Money Talk workshops. We got another one starting actually next Saturday. So I'm dropping that in the comment section. That's the registration link. I'll pull it up here on the screen as well. If you go to projectgreen.eventbrite.com, you can get registered for our Money Talk workshop. And so our Money Talk workshop is offered in 3 sessions, and we call them, the first one is called Know Your Green. The second one is Save Your Green, and then finally Grow Your Green. And so, it's everyday conversation about, the basics of money management. What do you need to know? What do you need to do to start and to pursue and to reach your money goals? So we love to have people get registered. It's absolutely free. And, bring your, especially your young adult family members, bring them with you, but bring anybody, family, friends, foes, so that we all can learn how to handle our money together. You get some tips from, again, like I said, everyday people, and you also get to share your own input. So it's very interactive. And I tell you, every time we do it, I learn something from those who come to our class. And my dog is barking in the background. I hope you can't hear him. But we got a question from actually my cousin down in Tennessee. He says, what is a good probably app or resource to help with investing and reading the market? So what's a good resource to help with investing and reading the market? I'll start with one answer. Even Robinhood has its own educational tools in there. So it tells you some of the basics about investing. So built into those apps, there are some ways to learn. Lorin, what else would you add?
Motley Fool is a good resource. Objective information. CBS Market Watch is another source of information. What you receive is going to be based on who the information you're gathering it from. So, I would suggest be careful if you're not familiar with the sources that you're getting your investment advice from. There's ultimate reason to be concerned because you may be receiving not clean or bogus information. I would go to industry identified sources, or there are several. Every industry has an analyst that follows those industries. So every big trading house, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, all have analysts, and try to tap into their market research. Remember, by the time you hear something, stuff has already been happening. So you need to be able to identify where the opportunity is now in the midst of the fact that things have already happened before you get the information.
Excellent. Let me get this question here. Says, I want to come to the Money Talk workshop. What time on Saturday? So it's 9:30 to until 11 o'clock. 9:30 to 11 is the Money Talk workshop. So please, and the time tends to go by really fast. So come on out. It's on Zoom. It is, it's a virtual event. So we're able to do this safely from your own home, and it's free. So, but the information is valuable. If you apply the lessons that you learn, you can change your financial position from hundreds to thousands of dollars over the course of time. Some of those, if you do some of those things, you can actually save $1,000 or more by the end of this year if you apply some of the principles and strategies that we talk about. So, well, good. Well, thank you, Lorin. Thank you for those who watched and who asked questions and gave comments. I know others will be watching after this is recorded and uploaded, and we'll be monitoring our social media pages to respond to any additional feedback that we get from those sources as well. So go ahead and get registered, and we hope to see you in our Money Talk workshop, and stay engaged with Project Green. We got some exciting things happening this year. We're working on a conference coming up yet this spring. So we'll be sharing that date and more details about how you can get registered in the very near future. And we are committed to making some wholesale changes for our community and connecting people to resources that they're not aware is out there, but also helping to just light a fire under all of us to take those steps that we can take with the things that we already know and things that we already have access to. So with all of that, appreciate you, Lorin. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Dallas.
Thank you.